Oh, thank you, yes. Just getting ahead of myself. Having everything end on a 5 confuses me. It's constantly switching back and forth.
Yeah, it's not how my brain would work indeed. I have this problem with like in English it's I don't know what you do, but if it's like 8:30, then in Dutch it becomes and now I'm going to mess up again. It becomes 8:30, which is 9. Which is weird. So it's the one before or something, but it's just not fitting in my head, even though I'm native Dutch. But it's weird.
That is confusing.
And I just use the numbers now. Like I literally say 8:30 now in Dutch, also to just make it clear that what I mean. But with like 1:45 and 1:15, it's even worse because then I'm so into the it's quarter and then I forgot which quarter of what? Which one?
Micropub? Excellent.
Still fully static with my site. So.
Very good.
I wonder if that is
my site is statically compiled, and I use... Ooh, you can really see me right there. Hello.
Sorry if I was being rude earlier by talking.
Oh, no. I think you were...
Like, you got something to say, and I was like...
Oh, no. I don't think he meant to call you out that way.
Yeah.
He actually prefaced it by saying, I want to know what the quiet people are thinking.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Okay. Yeah, no, he was... Because he realized, like, probably four of us were monopolizing the time. So... Yeah. I think it was meant in a polite way.
Slightly more knowledgeable than us, maybe. Although Dio had a good question about we all Americans. The question was... Why are there so many competing microformat standards?
The short answer is like the XKCD problem. There are 15 standards and none of them do what I want. So let me make a new one. A lot of the ones that I would say a more cynical answer that I nevertheless feel is true is there are most of the formats that people use are them chasing search engine ranking. And Aaron has a great post about why he uses microformats that goes through the history of Google's recommendations over the years and shows that like every 2 to 3 years they come out with something new, and then they like after about 6 to 8 years they drop something that they used to recommend. And you can just see this shift happening. So like right now it's schema and data islands and JSON LD, but next year it'll be something new. And yeah, so
I saw a great talk on JSON LD. Like,
oh yeah,
change of rooms is to be announced. I forgot to give you this.
Oh great. Change of rooms.
Yeah, we're changing microphone into the other room so that I can record the screen.
Y'all gotta tell me because I'm running a live stream in here.
Oh, are you labeling them?
Yeah,
that's
man.
Nice. You do that? You can just rename it on YouTube.
Yeah, what is it?
Building a microphone endpoint is moving to it. This one is just displaying comments.
So can we project here or not?
Yeah, you should be able to.
In the main room
I think if you plug it in, it'll work.
Well, I need to disconnect this and reconnect.
Do you rename it on YouTube?
No. To get it to see the Bluetooth speaker.
I think it'll. Okay.
Where's microphone moving?
Main room. Okay, and I think this should. Hello, Marty.
Got it.
I'm a loud typer somewhere over here. Oh, he moved it away from them? Deliberately. I see. Well.
Okay, so this is displaying responses.
Somebody else on Bloomberg. What, are you in here, Marty?
I'm just setting up the live stream.
Oh boy. Like we haven't caused any trouble. Pissing off the RDFA people again. No one's using your markup anymore.
Could be worse.
Is this the responses seminar?
Yes.
Yay. I'm in the right place.
Responses, not responsive.
I said responses.
Sorry, bad web dev joke.
Responses moved here?
Yes.
Okay. Why are there bottle caps on?
Because we were instructed to bring back the bottles. They
But not
said
the
nothing.
caps?
Yeah.
No one was told
Okay.
what to do with them, so they proliferate.
Well, why don't you put them on top of the bottle? That seems like the logical conclusion. That if you have a bottle and a bottle cap, that they must be married together in a permanent union.
That would be kind of interesting if bottles and bottle caps were designed to be reunited.
Aren't they?
Not all of them. This clamp top doesn't go back on.
I got it back on.
Well, you've proven me wrong.
You also broke the glass with your bare hands.
No, I think I broke it with the bottle opener.
These are my notes from.
I'm sorry, I'm from America where we use plastic and then throw it out without recycling
I
it.
literally wrote this and stopped.
I'm exaggerating a little there, but yeah.
Like,
Probably
okay,
closer
you
to
should
the
have
truth.
That remembers how good a job he did.
That's probably closer to the truth than I'd like to admit.
Okay, I think I'm lost. Is this a micro?
No, that moved to
microphone
the.
is there now.
This was displaying response.
So we
The-
switched.
Yeah,
There were
they
more-
switched for the
Yeah.
live stream.
For the better recording setup.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing my best.
Well, I didn't bring
Oh,
mine
sorry.
because nobody told me there was a need. I would have brought more equipment.
Yeah.
That reminds
I
me
knew we
of the.
would be testing something, so I wanted to not bring this stuff for that.
Oh, it's like a fisheye add-on.
Oh, whoa. That's
Yeah.
a cool lens.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about yesterday during the organizers
I need a
thing.
drink.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, Hangouts link is up, YouTube link is up. Oh, thank you very much. That's a good thing. I'm surprised
I'm looking forward to hearing pearls of wisdom from the room. Come on, password. Be nice. Do I have the? Oh, I have the caps lock on. No wonder it's not working.
Welcome, displaying responses.
Or
It's about showing people's responses to your post on your own website. So if I like context posts, how should context show it on his site, if at all?
And talking about problems that we've run into, trying to make it work.
Yeah.
if you're not interested, in the adjoining room you have micropub, and in the other adjoining room you have ethics,
I will
whichever
stay
works for
here.
you.
I'm interested in this. I just re-implemented this for my site in Hugo, and I have had a lot of questions about why I did things that way the first time.
No, the Y's in the adjoining room. This is how.
Well, this is also like practical wise.
Yeah.
And practical, like.
You know I'm kidding a
problems
bit,
and
right? It's sometimes hard to tell with me, to be honest.
It is.
Ah,
I have
so
that-
You do know. There we go.
Oh, that's a fisheye.
Yeah, it's quite big. Your hands will be clearly visible typing your passwords.
All right, what is the Etherpad for this? Responses?
Oh no.
It's on the, there's a link on the wiki page.
Like non-memory.
I like that case. Oh, that's in the Amazon case. That's interesting.
Oh, what's going on here?
Should I start ordering my an e-paper badge for next time?
There you go.
Am I that? Am I that
Does this
silly?
work?
Printing
Main
works.
screen on.
Then you can
Yes.
change it for every IndieWebCamp.
I always wanted that to work.
Just say main screen turn on. It did.
No, just main screen on.
Oh, main screen on.
I mean, from zeroing or whatever
Yeah, that's right. I think it is main screen turn on.
Wait,
voice controls?
No.
No, that was just timing.
Yeah. Main screen turned on. Hello, gentlemen. What? You know what you're doing.
Someone set us up the response. Okay. Is that your backpack?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just making sure. Okay, I guess I should start with the wiki page. There's this one. Does that work? This looks like it's not this way.
I have hardly any
Nice. Why am I black and white? Oh, well. Okay,
Yeah, with names.
so on the right-hand side, these are different kinds of responses that may show up on your website. And let's take a look here. And this is a very high-level page that just clusters all of these because all these specific examples are on each of the separate pages.
This is which page? Responses?
What does it have to do with activity streams? That doesn't make any sense.
Throw it away.
Sorry, I can't. Nope. No, 1S responses. Okay, wait a minute, what just happened? Page? We're okay. All right, so I think some of the challenges to do with this were on comments.
Presentations? Anything?
Display?
Yeah, I think it's presentation.
I think.
Comments. Okay.
Are you sure it isn't presentation?
There is a.
It got redirected.
No, yeah, it's comments, but I thought there was comments presentation though. A different page.
No, also got redirected.
Okay. Maybe they changed it. It used to be.
I'm digging. I'll let you know if I find it.
You know what? I may have documented these on my own working on list and not actually.
They now all direct back. There used to be comment presentation and comments presentation.
Yeah, somebody must have cleaned it up.
I probably cleaned that up.
It redirects back to comments. Okay,
Yeah.
So comments.
So comments is about this display of other people's responses. But what I didn't put is multiple times I've tried to add these to my site and found problems with the data that I would display that made me not want to show them. And in particular, I'm going to assign someone else to take notes since I can't multitask that. Someone could jump on the Etherpad, etherpad.indieweb.org or someone's. I think there's most people. Where display received web mentions. Is that it? Okay, so the general challenge that I've run into with responses, and this kind of is a subset of like spam, potentially, or abuse, is that there's going to be examples of, let's see if it's still there. I might have blocked it. Let's see. Every about 10 posse tweets or so, I get some sort of nonsense Oh. That account got deleted. Well, that's nice. I get some nonsense comments on my tweets, like replies. And then sometimes the other challenge I've found is
Like what kind of format?
like gibberish.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact,
no link or something?
no link. Just someone just put a bunch of gibberish.
And just in case somebody else
And
comes in.
Yeah.
It's a good.
It's a good problem to be searching for gibberish and not finding it.
Yeah, I mean they don't happen. I try to link to it when it happens, but it doesn't happen that often, I guess. So not just typing gibberish, but then sometimes I've also seen people like or retweet that have some sort of offensive avatar, and I'll just leave it at that. Like,
Do you moderate your responses or do you automatically display everything?
I haven't been able to come up with a way yet of automatically displaying everything because every method I've come up with ended up putting something I don't want on my site. So that's the problem that I'm here to start talking about.
Okay.
Is when you start displaying responses from other sites, beyond just the URL, potentially even the URL, if you want to display someone's avatar or icon or their name, you might be displaying something that you don't want to show on your website. Or in some cases might even be illegal.
Unless you have some kind of global whitelist.
That's hard to do. Public lists are always a problem for proposing.
No,
because they make judgments
legit.
that you don't want to necessarily make.
That's legit. That's legit.
I tend to limit it to if it's just something like an indie event, then just filtering that content so you just get people who specifically responded to.
Yeah. I'm trying to find an example. Nope, that's me. Nope, that was me. Nope, that was me. Well, in the past, what I have done is blocked people on Twitter. And I think that they've been actually deleting accounts now.
A lot more aggressively than they used to.
Yeah, about which is really 100,000 or so. They were made by pretending to be by Democratic Party voters, but they told you that you should boycott the voting.
Boycott voting.
Yeah, look, yeah, exactly.
There was offensive reply in the last one. Show additional.
Oh.
That one. Show additional.
Okay. You've been warned.
They contain.
And there's
what?
But this.
Oh, but now it says there are 4 likes, and it shows only 2 faces. So maybe 2 of those 4 accounts.
Yeah.
Maybe Twitter has improved the situation. Is it possible? That's the thing. Show additional replies, including those that may contain offensive content. So there is a reply here, but it's been hidden.
If you that might be because others flagged it as offensive. If too many people flag it as offensive, they hide it as further answers.
Okay. I wonder if there's a way for me to look this up in, but it's probably already in webmention.io, right? So how do I check webmention.io for hello?
Someone has joined the chat.
Excellent.
Hello, someone. I can't see who that is from this distance.
It's Greg.
Okay,
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Hi. Well, I'm sorry, you're on an iPad at the other side of the room, so now we can see you.
Doesn't matter. My kids are running around like maniacs, so I'll be muted most of the time.
Does this work?
Welcome to the displaying responses room,
Okay, so this one
where we're trying to find spam but can't.
Is this problem
Demo fail.
disproportionately experienced by you because you have like a single letter heading or something?
Yeah, okay, so that's a good question. Is it disproportionately experienced by me? Yes, in regards to being a whitish male on the internet, but if you're a minority group, you oftentimes get a lot more abuse on your online posts, especially women and women minorities. So I kind of see like receiving any abuse in terms of IndieWeb stuff as like I can be a canary in the coal mine and like find these problems first. Okay, so what the... Like.
Tantic, I just dropped a comment to a post on my site that has a similar issue where like I just have a weird gibberish tweet. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, oh, you found one.
Yeah, if you check chat, I just dropped you a link.
Which chat are you talking about?
IndieWeb-chat.
Okay, I'm not seeing you on there.
Loki season. I see you.
Oh, there you are.
So if you scroll to the bottom.
Okay, that's a good example of what I'm talking about. Great. Yeah, I've gotten that stuff before too.
I think that actually is a reply to your post.
Oh, wait, how did you find it?
It was sent to me, as I mentioned, by Bridgie because it's a reply to a post that mentions my post. It's like Sal mentioned.
Yeah, Bridgie, promiscuous mention.
With the giant picture of my head. Okay.
Hey, whose fault is that?
That I haven't
Twitter's.
fixed. That I haven't fixed my H card so that Bridgie likes it. Probably mine.
No, because it's Twitter. It's a Metacrat problem.
Yeah, but
Twitter's pulling OG or Twitter tags.
Yeah.
But I think
but he's publishing it. Then.
Right. Yes.
So you're publishing a giant picture of your head as your Open Graph or Twitter card. That's
not intentionally.
I've never what's happening.
Yeah, but I've never considered Open Graph to be a high priority, despite the fact that I actually consider it a priority to consume because so many people don't do micro formats. But that's a whole other conversation.
We're going to do like a 30-second view source dive here right now.
Why? It's not relevant right now.
There
I'll
it
fix
is.
it later.
OG
This
image.
is you, man.
Twitter image and OG image.
That's why. So yes, you are doing this.
No, apparently that plugin is doing it. I better fix that.
Kill the SEO. Why are you running an SEO framework plugin?
Because I never bothered to turn it off.
You don't care about SEO.
No, I don't. I just never bothered to turn it off.
All right. Kill it with extreme prejudice.
It's not kill it. It's click a little button and disable it. I don't know why I'm using that.
Sidebar. Let's do Todd Tech reviews everyone's website. That would be a really good session.
No, he's right. I have to clean out all of my plugins. I haven't looked at what I actually have enabled on my site in ages. I have an MQTT plugin. Anyway, problem for another day.
It's kind of veering into a spam detection problem.
I'll worry about that later. I think I'll start coding my own Open Graph if I really care about it.
Okay. So this is the example. Great. When did this happen?
September 2017.
Okay. Yes, spam, this is like relatively harmless, just annoying, but I think is indicator of what's possible. Like this could be really rude instead, and I don't want to automatically display that on my site. The avatar is also just fine, like seems like a normal person. not a bot, but it could be. And so when people display things like even surreal icons.
Oh, but there's a different icon there.
Right.
Yeah, their icon was different when I received the web mention.
Okay, so this is a good example of like, sure, I like the rainbow colored Apple logo. I'm a fan of the classic logo, but that could have been something much more rude.
Yeah, I think you've said before you've had likes from Twitter from avatars that are pretty rude, and you would not want to show those in a face file.
Right. My point is, if I'm showing this on my own site, my parents read my homepage and read my site, so I would rather not show something offensive to my parents or like to any of my friends that be reading my page. And so I don't know when I can trust an avatar and when I can't. So the point is to ask that question, and that's just one aspect, the avatar. The other is that on Twitter, you'll find that people change their visible name to be all kinds of different things. In fact, I almost hesitate to do this because it's probably going to be a toxic pile of crap, but if you guys don't mind the trash fire, I'm going to go to my Twitter homepage.
Well, it's Halloween time. I mean, it's tradition to change your name and to come up with your spook name at Halloween time on Twitter.
Okay, I mean, here's the mild version. My friend Tab Atkins uses the name Hart, Chaudhry Hepburn Hart, which isn't obviously his like real or even like what you call him name. I guess people are being.
It's Saturday.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What are you looking for?
Yeah.
I was looking for someone that used a fake name, but I guess I'm not really seeing much in the algorithmic feed of my followers. I mean, here's a good use. Dietrich changed his visible name to his Mastodon identifier. That's kind of clever.
There was a tool for that, I think, at Mastodon.
There was a tool?
Yeah. Many people did, so many people did that.
There you go.
Which one?
Someone made their name, you know what's better than sex? Voting. And,
yeah. Okay.
Oh, the and is not really.
And the and is the other person.
Yeah.
So.
My question would also be, we've got this law in Germany that Twitter is responsible for the law, basically. So if you click on something in Twitter, which is, I don't know, offensive or against the law, they have to do this, you know, and to check this. Also, it is stupid, but it is fact. Now, what does happen if somebody already replied on the site and Twitter deletes it? We don't get a message about that, right?
I believe that's correct. We don't get deletes right now.
Which, in a way, Contic is kind of what happened to me this morning. I was going through and reading old chat logs and was citing a deleted tweet and then said, oh, you know what? It's the author deleted the tweet. I shouldn't use it. Now, that wasn't in a reply on my website. That will be. Dave and I are lucky because with WordPress, you could ask them that. I mean, I know avoiding which you use. It's just awesome. Every single web mention gets moderated.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I like that feature. Like I can't just accept random web mentions without moderation.
Yeah, a long time ago, I really wanted something that's like a super intelligent bubble constructor.
Go on.
Does the description make sense? Is that a lot of the filters, even they're there, or it's purported to learn about your preferences, it still has many cases of filter failure. And it's very hard to predict using conventional method what novel spam there might be.
Yeah. The thing for this law.
Here's another one. Son of an asylum seeker, father of an immigrant.
there is not even an API method. If you flag it via the law thing, you get a mail. You know, if Twitter is okay with deleting it or not. I think that might be also a rule by the European Commission. I'm not sure, but yeah. I mean, what could we do? We could just poll again and look if it's still there, right?
Well, it's made me consider not even showing responses from Twitter, for example, because that seems to be like the biggest source of noise.
We talked about this a bit at Summit, I want to say, when, in the session about Vouch, because a lot of the same questions came up of if I get a web mention of any kind, if I get some kind of response, do I want my site to do anything with it automatically other than store it? And in the session on Vouch, David was hoping to nail down
how to actually solve the problem.
Like how does Vouch solve the problem, and how does one implement Vouch, and what are the practical upsides to it? Once you have Vouch, what does that actually mean for automatically displaying things on your website? and that's one approach. So, yeah, is this more of a question of moderation and automated display?
Like, what can you automatically display versus what should you moderate?
Right.
I guess let me try to.
And with Vouch, we essentially proposed a web of trust system of like there are some domains or some sources that you trust to display, and Vouch says, given that you have that, like this is how to add a new post into that mix of like things that you have decided to display.
Yeah.
So based on responses you've displayed before, you might also like to display this response. And I think that's been more.
I think we should not use the phrase web of trust.
I agree.
I think that's misused by at least two other parties to mean things that are like horribly unreliable and or user unfriendly.
Yeah.
What Vouch tries to do is second degree trust. That's the closest summary I've been able to come up with. So first degree trust is like, I trust you, Marty, to comment.
Yeah.
Like I just have a trust list of domains that I like. I also don't like the phrase whitelist.
Yeah, accept list.
Accept list?
Pretty strong, yeah.
Okay. And then Vouch lets people that are like somehow related to to my accept list then comment on my stuff. So it's a second degree of trust.
Right. Or
it doesn't go beyond that.
Even the original term Vouch is more, it's almost like an introduction step.
Yeah.
So it may not even be that you're trusted. It's a way for the system. It's like a way for web mention to say like, by way of introduction, I am so-and-so, and by the way, here is a response. And you still may decide to moderate that in some other way. But it's another signal of an introduction about like who I am or who this post might be from.
So maybe we're talking about three different classes, like your accept list, then your Vouch, your like second degree of trust, and then everyone else.
So that's like the concentric rings of a tree. As you go outward, you end up.
You trust less.
Won't hope.
You moderate more.
Since if you have very large circles, it's quite vulnerable if you just have 1 or 2 points.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Well, the idea I explored after the summit was basically working on following as a concept, because the idea being if you followed somebody, you had some level of trust.
That's a good way to grow your accept list.
I think in Quora you can only message people that follows you or something.
Then how do you meet people?
You follow. You don't generally.
But like everything, follow means different things to different people. So it might just be that you are interested in some things they say. The question is, what level of following is there? Then you get into, if you really want to get complicated, XFN and other relationships, like, are they your friend? Are they your acquaintance?
Yeah, that's a much more global problem. It's like a very.
Well, Google Plus tried to solve it with circles, but they're going away, and they didn't do very well over their history anyway.
Well, and the biggest fault was that when it became interesting, they hid the circles in the UI. You I don't you know just before you had it directly, and now you have to click persons.
Yeah, so you can't
No, wait,
actually
wait,
see
wait.
who you're doing.
Yeah, exactly, and but you can interact with the circles directly. Before they had it on the top, you just had to drag down a circle, for example, and could share that whole circle. You even can't share circles. They destroy everything.
So basically, they came up with a way to segment your social population and then slowly got rid of it, and then slowly closed down the platform.
Yeah,
after
exactly.
they discovered that it wasn't working for them. Oh well.
There's another kind of very nebulous way of thinking about it. It's like a very large reputation system. Let's say you have a YouTube video, anyone can comment, right? Usually, this
Regrettably,
weird stuff just start to surface. But if you have a really intelligent reputation system somehow globally, you can just sort all of the possible comments or responses and then cut off somewhere.
So, so your suggestion is that I trust other people to decide who I trust?
That's
You
why.
have
I'm
to or rely on some machine process.
Yeah, but the other thing is that intelligent means then it must detect bots, for example, and that is, I think, hard.
Or maybe bots can also produce high quality responses.
But they don't do.
Things that appear high quality, but then actually manipulate elections.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea of vouch was that you're trusting somebody to some degree because of somebody you already trust who trusts them. The friend of a friend.
Yeah, second degree trust.
Yeah, but the problem is, what if your friend is automatically approving all communications and they don't actually trust it?
So that's the same problem as like, what if you invite a friend to a party and they let a bunch of random people into your house?
You have different weights, right? You have to assign to your
No, you tell your friend, like, cut it out. Like, you're not invited to my party anymore. My parties anymore, my house anymore. Like, right?
Yeah. No, so far no one's ever brought a bunch of wild people to my house, so I'm only thinking of that in the abstract. But
well, step one, you kick the randos out, so you block. And step two, you have a conversation with your friend. I don't think there's a way to automate step two. I think you have to make that like, that's a social thing.
You have to indirectly enforce some kind of discipline in your friend's social
pressure. You're like,
do my web mentions have a code of conduct?
You're like, hey, if you're gonna link to anyone you want, then I really can't trust you to be a vouch.
So now I need a block list for my vouch list, as well as an accept list for my
Also, you don't want to really have to manually set this. Let's say you have 500 friends or something, and tweak them every once in a while, check update.
Well, that's why I'm sort of saying that.
I think the default is you trust them to be sources for second degrees of trust.
So it's you trust people until you have a reason not to?
Think about the party scenario. You trust friends to bring a +1 until someone brings an absolute jerk, and then you're like, wait, what were you thinking?
But does that apply to them, or does that apply to everybody? Let's say that everybody in this room are my guests at this theoretical party.
Yeah.
And one person here goes and brings somebody who throws up all over my kitchen.
Yes.
And does that mean I don't trust anybody at the table to ever bring a guest, and I impose martial law on everybody? Or no more guests for anyone, or do I just distrust the immediate person who goes?
The immediate person.
Because there's this tendency that, but it's
that's the way people socially behave today. They don't drop all trust of all friends. They like.
Yeah, but when you move it back to to technology, people do. Because the moment that they have a breach of trust, they end up hardening their entire wall.
So the hope is with Vouch to come up with a better way of handling that more reflects.
I'm just pointing it out.
Like social norms. Yeah.
But so far, many people have implemented the receipt of vouchers, but very few people have implemented the sending of vouchers. And actually, few people have implemented receipt as well, but more than send. So plenty of people know how to know whether or not you might vouch for somebody, but not how to know how to actually pick somebody to vouch for you. which is an interesting problem to have. But it sort of steered off of the responses question.
So there's some UIs, and I think Instagram started doing this recently, that show you names or icons of the people that have liked something that you also follow, and then everyone else is and 37 others.
Yeah, that's quite commonly implemented.
See if I can find an example.
The response list is sorted by relevance to you.
Yeah.
But in a distributed situation, how do you do that? How does my website decide what's relevant to me?
It's based on your past interactions.
I just don't know how much intelligence I want to give my website.
Does it already have an accept list of sites that you trust?
No, actually it does at the moment. It does have a list of sites I trust, although I've noticed recently that it isn't trusting people anymore, so I think I introduced a bug. So apparently my website is a lot more paranoid than I thought it was.
Oh yeah, so people I trust. So we have like accept list.
Why not put this through a classifier? Let's say the image or the text.
Because I don't trust them.
Okay.
I don't trust robots. They're too prone to being gamed. Like that's anything that you can put in a classifier, an attacker can also test the classifier and pass. That's the general problem with classifiers.
I think that has to occur with very targeted attacks.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is one of the scenarios that we're solving for, because that's what happens on social media. Is people get bullied and targeted and doxxed. And that is part of I think that's a valid thing for us to look at and solve. And if we can solve it, I think there are a lot of people that would be like, I'm so off social media and using your thing instead. Like, especially vulnerable populations.
In the ethics, I'm watching the ethics Etherpad right now, and they talked about how they'd like a little bit of code they could add to say, oh, this post takes no web mentions. Like you could put something just in your HTML that says on a post per post basis, hey, I don't want any web mentions on this post. I mean, I guess no display is a form of display.
Your site can also do this. Oh, well.
You don't need to do that because you can just like hide your web mention endpoint for that URL.
Yeah.
Like okay. I'll put that note in there for him.
Yeah, you should put that note because that's kind of like a duh.
Well, I think it's important. Like it might be something that your CMS, they might have never thought of adding that like flag to your CMS. But or like my site is a static site and I could easily implement that, but I haven't. So like
the point is if you're going to put some other thing in your header, it's just as hard to put the other thing in your header as it is to remove the link equals web mention.
I agree, but it sounds like maybe they don't know that. Like maybe
we tried it in the WordPress plugin to not show the endpoint information on pages that didn't have web mentions open.
Yeah,
but we had to revert it. I'm trying to remember why. Somebody complained. And I don't remember for the life of me what the issue was. But I'm going to have to go look this up because this is going to bother me. Here we are. Prevent web mention sending for specific links.
Sending, not receiving. Right? Like you don't want to send to a certain links.
Yeah, that was the Colin Walker proposal was that if you wanted to not send for a specific link, you would put no mention.
So that's more like a subtweet kind of thing.
But let's see, here we are. Endpoint advertise even if not accepted. So the issue is still open, but I'm trying to remember what the original problem was.
Could I publish a blog post and then I would no longer be able to, and then stop getting web mentions from a particular domain? Or, could I there's no such thing as blog post, but I was thinking, what if they meant like, oh, I want to be able to tell my system, don't take a web mention from this domain. But I don't like shared block lists, so I would never want those public.
Well, there's an automatic approval list, but I don't know if we have an automatic block list.
I'd like that. That'd probably be an easy feature for you, Dave.
You know where the issue page is.
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking about you thinking about what you want to do tomorrow and random ideas. I'm just here because I'm avoiding my writing task.
Oh, that's always good. Is that for NaNoWriMo?
No, I don't want to do. I have to write every day. I don't want a NaNoWriMo. I want a month off of writing.
Well, then join Movember.
Already started a few days ago.
Yeah, you can start late.
So the three categories that I was proposing, your accept list, second degree, whether you use vouch or some other mechanism, and then everyone else.
Maybe, and that's what I'm thinking. Do you want that fourth block list?
Sure. Blocked or muted. Right?
Muted. That's yeah. Which I guess are two different things, but
they are two different things. Yeah, there's pages in the wiki for both. Show nothing. So I could see in my accept list like showing it like you would normally for any social media, right? Someone's picture, their name, summary of what they said, like whatever's applicable to the content. Because you basically say, yeah, I know this person and I trust them. For second degree, who's implemented vouch receiving? Anybody?
It's actually, oddly enough, turned off by default on all WordPress sites that installed WebMention. It's a disabled feature. You have to actually intentionally enable it.
That's fine because it probably hasn't been properly tested.
That's because there aren't enough people sending. That's the reason why we felt we couldn't enable it.
Is there anything you can show? What should you show by default for like a second degree of trust person, someone that's vouched but don't know who they are?
Yeah, I'd love to, like when I think of your levels, I'd love to think about how I would combine that with if I had this is my network page of these are the people in my networks.
Mm-hmm.
How would I then display those? Well, obviously those three levels because the fourth would be hidden from everyone else.
I don't know. The only thing that comes to mind is, won't you be my neighbor?
And I'm okay with that. That's a good way to live.
I mean, it comes to my mind that if I have an accept list, I think WordPress does this by default for comments. Like a comment from a new person identity, usually email, is moderated by default. It's held in a moderation queue, and if I accept it, that usually is a combo of I accept this person and I add them to my automatically accept list in the future.
It's an option.
And
automatically approve comments by previously approved.
And I think like when it comes to moderation, those like friend to friend, those second order relationships, I would just put those at the top because it's more likely that I'm going to accept them and add them. Whereas,
but still moderate, like don't show anything.
If I was like accept list by default, I'm not sure that I would show anything. Unless it's somehow for me to see, like if it's a signal to me that there's something there, I kind of do want to see it before I just automatically display it.
As an educator, I have to. The fact, like, it scares me getting web mentions just without, me moderating them first.
Do you feel like that's true about just the content of them or like even the person's name or icon?
Well, a lot of spam will use that name and icon to that's, you'll get a lot of porn images as an icon sometimes, that happens.
Okay.
So but that's me. I work in a different world. So I want to moderate all this stuff.
That's all others. That's not second degree.
Yeah.
Right? Or have you had web mentions from people that are related to people that you know?
Not really. But I'm just thinking hypothetical. I guess not. So I guess in today, this system would be fine. I've never even gotten a bad web mention yet.
Yeah, same. I operate in the open.
Except that one.
You can.
Except the one.
Well, that was kind of my fault. I should have been called to the carpet in a way.
And I display it because I'm like, I don't know, it's gibberish, but actually, like that post has two other mentions that I don't want, that are like webmention.io misunderstood the page, and it's actually like David's page was displaying the fact that I mentioned David's page, and webmention.io thought his display of my mention was a mention. And so like that's why there are two different comments at the bottom of that post that say like Marty McGuire mentioned this on Marty McGuire, because David's page reflected those back at me, and webmention.io was like, sure.
Yeah, my fault. It's all my fault.
No, I said webmention.io accepted it.
Contact still pretty much he attends my blog because I messed up the way I'm getting web mentioned somehow. But I got to move those to a different page anyways. But I just think it's funny. Christina Warren's the only person who's ever liked my website. I've never even met her, and Tontic attends my website.
So I'm thinking for second degree.
Oh yeah, we're at time.
I would rather at least show something like maybe at least icon and name, because that seems like a reasonable risk without showing all the content they post.
Yeah.
And that way, the other nice aspect of that is that the person replying sees that something happened. Like, oh, you've got my web mention. You're at least showing that.
Right.
You've sort of like, I don't know what the word for it. Not like fully moderated, like half moderated.
You've acknowledged.
Yeah.
Publicly that a response appeared.
Like I know that when I comment on WordPress blog and it like takes forever, then I'm just like, why do I even bother to comment?
You're the reason why I put in the approved list, so that you would stop saying that.
But the point of this is to not need to be on someone's approved list to have something show up.
Interesting.
And so I want to, when some person that's in like a second degree stops by and like leaves a comment, I want to show some sort of feedback immediately to give them a good UX that like, oh yeah, I got your comment.
Right.
That is
cool.
That is also my reason why I would not moderate the things, but it's a different thing. But I just thought about if people has to wait for it, there won't be an immediate debate, because
oh right, it'll slow down the debate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another good reason. Let's capture that.
Pretty much slow down.
Let's capture that. So we are technically in the break, so I think let's keep talking. But just to make everyone aware, next in here will
That's an interesting point.
micropub post posse repeat, run by David. Next door on this side, building a censorship-resistant web. Next door on this side, photos and galleries. And that starts right at 4 o'clock. So we have 8 minutes. Sorry to interrupt your thought. That was a very good thought. Oh no,
Bye all.
Please keep having the thought.
Okay. Well, I feel like we made some progress.
Yeah.
Well, it's always a good problem to review.
Until we fix this, I don't think we're going to fix the abuse problem. Frankly.
Yeah. Well, and I think there are two interesting things about this. Like, one is I've been to several IndieWebCamps with you, and it has often come up like, Tontic would like to display responses on his site, but every time you get stuck because like, well, you just have a bunch of garbage data, and it's really hard to figure out how to filter through that.
Right, short of like writing an AI.
There's also a site called Submit Hub, I think. It's like people pay 5 cents to submit to it, and then you can just